Let's talk about smartwatches and how they apply to cycling. So I put off having a smartwatch for a long time. I even laughed at the idea, thinking they were unnecessary. But now I am the owner of a TicWatch Pro. So I'm going to talk about what I think about it, but let's back up and talk about how I came to own a smartwatch. So my wife is a runner, and for Christmas this year, she wanted an Apple Watch since she's an iPhone user. Now her purpose of wanting a smartwatch was she wanted to run and track her runs and listen to music without carrying her phone, so the Apple Watch really fit the bill for that. So while I was doing some research on smartwatches for her Christmas present, I started to think about all those times I had my phone in my jersey pocket when I was riding, and I got a text or a phone call and I'd have to dig out the phone and answer the call or answer the text message. And that was especially annoying if the weather was cold and my phone was buried under a couple layers of clothing. So after turning up my nose to smartwatches for several years, I decided I would try one, and I found this one for $50 off. So the TicWatch Pro is normally $250. I found it for $199 just before Christmas. So I feel like for cycling, that's a pretty good application for having a smartwatch. Also, like my wife, if you want to ride without having to carry your phone and you want to track your ride on Strava, so Strava has an app for Android watches and for Apple watches. Now, like I said, I usually carry my phone with me, so I don't need the watch to track the ride. I either track it with my phone or with my Garmin Edge 520. Now, if you're a Garmin user, you're probably saying to yourself, well, you can see calls and text messages on your Garmin, which is true. Now, the Edge 520, you cannot reply. My Edge 1030, you can do replies that are built into the Garmin, so you can say like, okay, or I'll be home soon, or I'm out riding, but you can't do a specific message. So that's where having a smartwatch really helps, is you can reply. Now typically, if you're not familiar with smartwatches, you can type on them, but it's so small, you're better off just kind of talking into it, and that will send a text message. Now, another solution for texting and answering calls when you're riding is a pair of wireless earbuds, but I'm not going to open up that can of worms because that's a very controversial topic. But you could, if you didn't believe in listening to music on the trails, you could still have wireless earbuds around your neck and use them for answering calls if you're the kind of person who gets a lot of phone calls while you're riding and you don't want to dig the phone out of your pocket. I've done that a lot. It works really well, so you can just hit the button when the person's calling, talk to them. You can even send text messages. You can use Siri or Google Assistant to dictate your text message, and that works really well too. So what do I think about using the smartwatch for a month now? This one has not worked great with my Pixel 3. There are times when it works well, but there's a lot of times when I answer a call and instead of answering on the watch, it activates my phone. Or I make a phone call on the watch, and when the person picks up, it switches over to my phone. And so that's been a problem. And that was the main reason I got the watch. So that being said, I'm probably gonna send this one back. I may try another one. Now, I will mention that the Mavoy TicWatch Pro, they chose to use an older processor, so an older Snapdragon processor. That's like a 2-year-old processor, so that may be why I'm having some issues with it, because it is a little laggy for me. Other than that, I really like this watch. It has a really unique feature in that it has 2 displays, and this isn't a watch review, but I just want to mention this. So there's an LCD display. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but it's always on. And so you can check the time without the watch having to come on, and it really saves battery life. You can touch the screen, or you can have it, tilt to wake, and then the normal AMOLED display will come on. But like I said, I'm an Android user. However, I feel like, from my experience, that if you want to connect all of your devices seamlessly, your computer, your iPad, your phone, your smartwatch, Apple has it going on. If I was really into smartwatches, I probably would switch to iOS, because my wife's Apple Watch Series 4 has worked just perfectly with her. I mean, she has an older iPhone. It's like an iPhone 6S. She's had no issues at all. So like I said, that's based on my experience. There may be other watches, like I may try the Fossil if I return this and get my money back, and see how that works. Now the good thing is, if you're into tech, I heard last week that Google purchased technology from Fossil, their Wear OS technology. So I have a feeling Google's gonna start making their own watches, and perhaps they'll improve. Let's see. One thing that I want to mention is that Android watches or Wear OS watches are typically bigger than Apple watches. Now, I actually like the way they look. However, when riding, this kind of hits this bone on my wrist. And so it was a little problematic. So what I had to do is I had to turn it so that the watch face was underneath when I'm mountain biking. Now, when I'm riding gravel, it didn't matter. But when mountain biking, I had to turn the watch underneath, and that allowed it to not hit this bone. That may or may not be a problem for you. Now, I do want to say that after using a smartwatch when riding a bike, I feel like it's a nice to have, but it's by no means a necessity. So that's just a real quick video on the subject of smartwatches for cycling. To sum it up, if you're wanting to have the ability to answer calls or texts when you're riding without pulling your phone out, if you want to track your ride on Strava or another app, or if you wanted to listen to music, maybe you're going to the gym. We're not going to go there with the subject of headphones and riding. But in those applications, using a smartwatch for cycling and for working out, I think makes sense. So I'd love to hear in the comments below, if you use a smartwatch, which one do you use? If you have a Wear OS one, which one do you use and how does it work? And what are some applications that you use a smartwatch for cycling? Like I said, drop those in the comments below. Thanks for watching.